In the medieval theater of war, where shadowy power held sway, archers, often unseen and overlooked, played a lethal and silent role. Long before the roar of battle and the clash of swords, these masters of the bow unleashed a deadly rain of arrows from their positions on hidden hills and castle walls. Their ancient weapons, honed over generations, had become formidable instruments that irrevocably altered the landscape of medieval warfare. The skill of these archers was the product of brutal, lifelong discipline. Their bodies were molded into precise tools of destruction. Picture the scene: storms of arrows descending upon Agincourt, turning muddy fields into somber graveyards. This narrative invites you to uncover the hidden dominance of archers, the silent, invisible forces that shaped medieval might. Our journey into the eerie world of medieval combat begins with the sound, the chilling whiz of arrows piercing the air, a stark reminder of the unseen perils that haunted ancient battlefields. Often overshadowed by the heroic figures of knights, medieval archers possessed a subtle yet decisive power that determined victories long before the clang of steel. Concealed behind ridges and nestled within the embrace of rustling trees, these anonymous artisans of war unleashed their silent judgment upon their unsuspecting adversaries below. Imagine stepping onto a medieval battlefield, clad in glistening mail under the warm sun, feeling secure in your armor, yet vulnerable to what cannot be seen. Suddenly, as tension hangs heavy in the misty air, the sky darkens with a deluge of arrows, transforming the peaceful dawn into a chaotic maelstrom. Soldiers, their eyes fixed on the heavens, witness their fate traced by the deadly arcs above. Each arrow was a fate sealed before blades even met. This form of distant combat instilled fear deep within the soldiers' armor, leaving them stunned by what seemed like a merciless act of the sky. Hidden beneath the lush canopies of dense forests and perched atop towering castle walls, archers carved out new strategies of combat, striking from distances well beyond the reach of most adversaries. The safety afforded by their vantage point gave them a crucial strategic advantage, making them the unseen masters of the battlefield. The element of surprise and the sheer psychological impact of an attack from afar shattered enemy morale, sowing confusion and anxiety throughout the ranks. The chaos generated by these silent barrages blurred the lines between victor and vanquished, causing significant disruption to the established order of battle. Archers were like specters on the battlefield, phantoms blending seamlessly with their surroundings. Their ability to vanish into the terrain kept their foes in check through the sheer terror of an unseen enemy. High among hilltops or swaying effortlessly in tree branches, these warriors orchestrated death without being noticed, while soldiers below fruitlessly scanned the landscape for their attackers. The anonymity of these distant engagements diminished the drama of traditional face-to-face combat, reducing it to a nameless dread as soldiers continually fell victim to invisible strikes, turning every rustle of leaves into a potential harbinger of death. More than just bowmen, archers were skilled strategists, utilizing the landscape to extend their reach and outmaneuver their opponents. Protected by overhead branches, the woodlands became natural strongholds, shielding their presence and turning forests into impenetrable bastions. Similarly, the ramparts of castles provided almost insurmountable vantage points. They leveraged not only the physical terrain, but also the intricate social structure of combat, relying on precise timing, unwavering discipline, and seamless coordination as their key allies. Archer contingents frequently set the stage for brutal confrontations. Their plans were woven with deception, leaving opponents uncertain and ensuring that even smaller forces could exert significant influence over vast territories through cunning and strategy. Arrows tipped with flame intensified this already devastating force. As siege battles escalated, incendiary arrows ignited rooftops and kindling, casting flickering shadows upon the steadfast walls. Fire, primal and relentless, surged through medieval towns, consuming thatched roofs in its destructive embrace, an agent as illuminating as it was devastating. These burning projectiles symbolize the dual nature of death, a tool of both illumination and fear, highlighting the dark ingenuity of warfare, where even light was transformed into a weapon. Beneath their lethal artistry, archers were also seasoned masters of precision. Every arrow's flight depended on intricate calculations, angles informed by trigonometry, winds dictated by chance, all mastered through tireless practice. These soldiers shaped their destinies with wood and sinew, each arrow a note in the grand symphony of war. However, their craft came at a significant price. Bodies scarred and reshaped by the demands of their art. Fingers became calloused, shoulders pulled beyond nature's intent. Each archer, standing alone against the chaos, refined their simple instrument until it became an effortless extension of themselves. Despite their skill, archers occupied a unique social stratum, neither knights nor common peasants. Their status, bolstered by their talent, placed them in a curious position between reverence and mystery. Although lauded for the victories they helped orchestrate, they remained somewhat in the shadow of the romanticized image of knightly valor. Nonetheless, their undeniable prowess often commanded admiration, leaving them respected yet enigmatic figures who could inspire awe in anyone. In these medieval conflicts, battle lines were fluid sketches, and the strategic rhythm was dictated by the archer's unseen influence. Before mounted horsemen charged or infantry engaged in close combat, arrows set the terms, swaying fleeting advantages and disrupting strategies before they could bear fruit. As the invisible line of command, archers held sway over the overall strategy, their impact extending far beyond the immediate field of battle. Like custodians of fate, they directed the course of military action through calculated aims, orchestrating indirect power and asserting control with every drawn bowstring. Long after these conflicts faded into history, the echo of these anonymous archers persists. As firearms replaced arrows, the twang of bowstrings softened into whispers. Yet the myth of the archer endures, unheralded yet essential. This faceless force defined not merely weaponry, but a historical narrative. With weathered castle ruins whispering of arrowheads lodged deep beneath the soil, their memory remains intact. Thus, through the legacy of archers, a past age breathes anew. A realm of subtle maneuvers and grand clashes comes to life, not in battlefield memoirs, but in the whispered tales of cunning and quiet mastery found within the relentless annals of war. By pausing before the plunge of swords, archers reign supreme, sovereigns of the moment before impact, shaping the geometry of the past with every silence, every flight in hauntingly profound echoes. Since the dawn of human history, when a yew branch was first bent and strung with sinew, the bow has been an extension of survival, silent and deadly. Imagine an early hunter concealed in the underbrush, felling an unsuspecting deer with a simple release. These were humble beginnings, saplings strung with plant fibers or animal tendons. Over centuries, the bow evolved, molded by countless cultures into the formidable instruments that would dominate medieval battlefields. The Middle Ages witnessed a resurgence of these ancient tools, imbuing them with newfound destructive power. Vikings wielded short bows for swift raids from their ships, while Mongolian horse archers mastered the composite bow, becoming near legendary figures on the endless steppes. Each design showcased native ingenuity, crafted not merely for the hunt, but for warfare. As metalworking advanced, allowing arrows to pierce armor, archers transcended their role as simple hunters, becoming a significant force on medieval fields, wielding weapons that would have astonished their predecessors. The composite bow represented a significant technological leap, combining wood, sinew, and horn into a marvel of engineering. These layered materials created tension that propelled arrows further and with greater accuracy. Consider the fearsome Mongols. Their bows, compact yet powerful, were perfectly suited for mounted warfare, unleashing devastating volleys while in motion. Mastering such a weapon demanded a level of discipline far beyond that of an ordinary soldier. Master archers could predict enemy movements, align their shots with the wind, and adjust trajectories in mere seconds. In many nomadic cultures, the composite bow held deep cultural significance, not just as a tool of war, but as a symbol of resilience. Its mastery was a legacy passed down through generations. While the composite bow showcased innovation, the longbow represented simplicity refined to deadly perfection. Emerging first in Wales and then in England, the longbow was typically crafted from a single yew branch. This medieval marvel, long and seemingly unwieldy, possessed a power that belied its simple appearance. It demanded not just skill, but a lifelong commitment, weaving its use into the societal expectations of Wales and England, where practice became mandatory. The longbow fundamentally transformed medieval warfare. Its reach was formidable, its arrows capable of penetrating the heavy armor that armies had once relied upon for protection. This was more than a technological shift. It was a societal revolution, elevating a skilled archer to a status comparable to a knight. Suddenly, the precise pull of a bowstring could democratize death, overcoming class distinctions and demanding a strategic reevaluation from leaders who position archers as integral tactical units, central to both offensive and defensive operations. Crafting a bow, whether composite or long, was an art form. Craftsmen spent months, sometimes even years, meticulously selecting materials. Yew was highly prized for longbows due to its elasticity, which provided strength. Composite bows demanded a more intricate process involving horn, sinew, and wood melded together to harness different forces. Each layer required a level of precision only achievable by a master hand, revealing the craftsman's talent akin to a war sculptor, shaping energy rather than stone. Their tools molded history, embedding cultural heritage into each bow, a testament to an intuitive understanding of physics long before its formal exposition. No bow could function without arrows, the silent messengers of war. Each was meticulously crafted. Shafts were made from sturdy woods like ash, and fletching, often goose feathers, provided stability. The design of the iron or steel arrowheads varied. Bodkin points were used to pierce armor, while broadheads inflicted devastating damage on unarmored foes. This versatility allowed archers to adapt to different situations, a crucial element on medieval battlefields, where the whistle of arrows signaled impending doom. Being an archer was more than just possessing a skill, it physically reshaped one's body. Training from a young age, archers developed distinct asymmetrical muscles and even twisted spines as their bones adapted to the repetitive motion of drawing the bow. Their very physiques were molded by their tools of war. Regions like England mandated archery practice, deeply embedding the discipline within society to ensure readiness for conflict. Consequently, archers entered the field poised and practiced, firing with a precision born of necessity. Training began in childhood, with young boys participating in community-organized archery butts, commencing their journey toward warriorhood. These training grounds were more than just places for practice. They were community hubs hosting festivals and contests where skills were honed, ambition was ignited alongside camaraderie. Here, archery became a woven part of life, transforming boys into lethal forces. In society, the bow served as a rare equalizer, offering advancement based on merit. Skilled archers could rise in status, earning respect from both peers and nobility. They excelled in both warfare and hunting, another avenue that elevated their societal standing. Aristocrats valued hunters as much as warriors, intertwining the bow's purpose with prestige and power within the rigid social hierarchy. Archers fueled myths and legends, their artistry captured in tales of prowess and cunning, such as that of Robin Hood, the outlaw archer and symbol of justice. Across continents, songs celebrated archers as cunning tricksters and noble defenders, inspiring cultural reverence. These myths elevated archers beyond mere combatants, embedding them as cultural icons. As the Middle Ages progressed, the bow's role in warfare became increasingly strategic. It redefined battle tactics, challenging the supremacy of cavalry and ushering in a more systematic approach to warfare. This evolution marked a departure from valor-driven clashes towards orchestrated strategy, foreshadowing future military developments. Archers, through their silent efficacy, spearheaded this transformation, leaving their indelible mark on the medieval tapestry of war. The longbow, a towering 6-foot marvel crafted from yew wood, was more than just a weapon. It was the very heartbeat of England's military prowess, a symbol of precision and deadly innovation. This unassuming tool, with its draw weight often exceeding 100 obuolbis, propelled arrows at such speeds that they could pierce mail armor like parchment, transforming battlefields into deadly arenas. In the hands of skilled longbowmen, it was a terrifying force, its arrows slicing through the air with a sharp whisper of fate, signaling impending doom from afar. These arrows, fitted with various heads, whether bodkin for armor or broadhead for flesh, were not merely projectiles, but diplomats of death, negotiating the fates of medieval warriors on both sides. The life of an English longbowman was a testament to unwavering discipline, beginning from a tender age as dictated by a societal mandate enshrined in law. Boys were molded into warriors, their childhoods intertwined with the repetitive pull of bowstrings. Their bodies were reshaped over years, becoming seamless extensions of their weaponry. Drills designed to test their mettle commenced before dawn, demanding an endurance that bent spines and expanded shoulders, transforming boys into human bows, indelibly marked by their craft. Within this brotherhood of archers, every battlefield was both a stage and a crucible, where stories shared around campfires formed the heart of their collective history. To truly grasp the longbow's impact, one must transport themselves to the chaotic theater of medieval warfare. In battles like Agincourt, the longbow's piercing volley decided destinies long before combatants engaged in hand-to-hand combat. As the landscape transformed into a muddy quagmire, arrows rained down upon French knights, turning their noble advance into a scene of shattered armor and skewered grandeur. These were not merely battles of strength, but of wit and strategy, a chilling testament to how the longbow could decisively shift the course of conflicts. It was more than just a weapon, it was a psychological predator, its silent arcs a haunting reminder of mortality looming unseen overhead. The bow demanded more than just physical exertion. It required a complex interplay of mental calculation, where archers read the wind and gauge distances with the precision of artists. Behind its feared silhouette lay a deep trust shared among men, bonded by the tight embrace of the bowstrings and years of shared struggle. The longbow wasn't merely an instrument, it was a ghost hovering over battlefields, its silent hiss a testament to the dark artistry of war. Its mastery leveled the playing field between commoners and noble knights, challenging the existing hierarchy with skill and precision embodied in a simple arc of yew. This ancient art reached its zenith at Agincourt, where English tactics unraveled the chivalric grandeur of France like an expertly aimed arrow-splitting mail. Here, the strategic placement and relentless firing of the longbowman disrupted the enemy ranks, exposing the limitations of brute strength against calculated precision. The psychological warfare unleashed before swords clashed on that fateful ground showcased its true power. A chilling orchestration by these silent warriors who, unseen, controlled the fate of thousands. Yet the longbow's incredible success propelled it beyond battles into broader English society, shaping both its economy and culture. The craftsmanship involved in creating the bow and its arrows sustained entire trades, with laws promoting its mastery over other crafts. Fletchers and bowyers became vital as the demand for superior equipment surged. Yew trees, the very essence of the longbow, were fiercely protected, intertwining natural resources with military necessity. It was a tool of empowerment, transforming communities by giving commoners a stake in national defense, literally molding the socio-economic landscape of medieval England around its taut fibers. But progress in warfare is an unstoppable force. As gunpowder began to roar across Europe, new strategies emerged. The painstaking skill required to master the longbow could not compete with these new, thunderous inventions. Firearms heralded a new era, overshadowing the longbow's silent proficiency with their explosive immediacy. Despite its decline, the legacy of the longbow endured, embedding itself deep within the English spirit as a symbol of personal skill and collective resilience. Its elegance, precision, and the quiet power it wielded remain etched in history as a vivid reminder of a time when warfare was both intensely personal and profoundly impactful. The world moved on, but the longbow lingered in the narrative of England. It became a cultural emblem, celebrated in tales long after its practical military use had ceased. The mastery of it was a relic of disciplined strength against overwhelming odds, a symbol that would resonate through the ages, overshadowed by gunpowder, yet never truly forgotten. This elegant curve of wood, which once spoke in whispers of doom across battlefields, has become a storied shadow of the past, its legend enduring as an encapsulation of medieval warfare's intricate dance between silence, skill, and unseen power. In medieval England, archery was far more than a mere sport. It was a duty ingrained in the very fabric of society. The crown mandated it so, The Assize of Arms in 1181 and the Statute of Winchester in 1285 decreed that every free Englishman between the ages of 15 and 60 must possess arms, including a bow. This law was as crucial to social order as paying taxes, with penalties for those who shirked their responsibility. In an era where the fate of nations hung on the battlefield, skilled archers became the very backbone of English military might. For many, the journey to becoming an archer began in childhood. Village greens transformed into impromptu ranges as boys as young as 7 commenced training. Fathers passed down the art, correcting stances, adjusting grips, and teaching boys to gauge distances, sensing the subtle shifts of the wind. It was a rigorous and relentless process, instilling a muscle memory so refined that loosing an arrow became as instinctual as breathing. Long days were filled with practicing at varying distances, training until daylight merged into dusk. As these boys grew, the demands placed upon them intensified. Their bodies adapted, hardened, and were sculpted by countless hours of practice. The longbow, a towering 6 feet of yew, required immense strength to draw. Over time, bones hardened, shoulder blades broadened, and fingers became calloused, a testament to their transformation. Archaeological digs have uncovered twisted spines and deformed shoulders, silent evidence of lives dedicated to mastering the bow. This physical metamorphosis was intrinsically linked to the forging of discipline and resilience, creating individuals who were not simply soldiers, but integral components of a deadly machine. For archers, their longbows were not just tools of war, they became extensions of themselves. Yew wood, meticulously shaped and seasoned, became objects of reverence. Each archer customized his weapon, knowing its feel as intimately as a farmer knows the soil. Maintaining a bow was a ritual as significant as baking bread or harvesting crops. Arrows, too, were personal. Handcrafted, they bore the unique marks of their maker. Villages became miniature factories, crafting arrow shafts and heads. A medieval arms race in which entire communities contributed to the war effort. Each arrow held potential, waiting to write its story on the battlefield. Training shaped not only bodies but also minds. The constant challenge honed psychological fortitude, fostering focus, patience, and strategic foresight. Archers learned to anticipate and react, their minds sharpened amidst the chaos of medieval battlefields. The demands of archery cultivated a meditative state where muscle and mind could function as one. This mental strength often proved as vital as their physical skill when they held their ground amidst the turmoil of battle. Even the natural landscapes of England played a crucial role. Fields, forests, and hills became impromptu training grounds where archers refined their skills against unpredictable forces. They practiced firing at distant targets in rain and fog, learning to adjust to the terrain and weather conditions. This familiarity with the land gave them strategic advantages, enabling them to scout and maneuver with ease. Archery also forged strong bonds among men, creating a fraternity born of shared hardship and triumph. Practice sessions were social affairs, where men encouraged one another and exchanged stories. This camaraderie bolstered morale, transforming solitary training into a communal journey. On battlefields, the bonds forged on practice ranges translated into seamless cohesion, with archers working as one to deliver volleys of deadly precision. These close-knit networks extended beyond training and combat. Veterans shared tales of legendary feats, blending history and myth. Figures like Robin Hood or Thomas Dickinson at the Siege of Calais became heroes, inspiring new generations. Each shot was not merely a technique, but an homage to a past hero, a chance to etch their own mark in history. Yet this path was fraught with adversity. The relentless regimen mirrored the harshness of medieval life. Food was often scarce, and the weather was unforgiving. For many, training was squeezed in between daily chores. Each draw of the bow, despite sore muscles, was a testament to their resilience. Despite financial constraints, archers pooled resources, bartering or laboring for access to quality equipment. These challenges shaped them, honed their problem-solving skills, and built a strong community ethos. By facing hardships together, they forged bonds that bolstered their resilience. As archers fired their final volleys, they left behind a legacy that extended far beyond the battlefield. They represented a democratic shift where commoners played pivotal roles in determining fate, an early acknowledgement of the power of people united by skill and purpose. Their disciplined, relentless training continues to influence modern military practices, emphasizing teamwork and adaptability. More than just warriors, they are symbols of dedication and craftsmanship. Today, their perseverance remains a metaphor for excellence, a timeless reminder that greatness is often derived from communal effort and unwavering devotion to one's craft. In the murky dawn of October 25th, 1415, a day drenched in rain, the fields near Agincourt were poised to witness what history would record as a remarkable reversal of fortune. The 100 Years' War hung in the balance, and the English army, led by King Henry Bears, found itself vastly outnumbered, weary from hunger and the arduous trek across enemy territory. Facing them was the French force, overflowing in numbers and confident in their impending victory, a veritable Goliath to the English David. The stage was set for a showdown that would indelibly etch the power of the archer into the annals of warfare. The battlefield, a strip of open farmland bordered by thick woods, lay waterlogged, dictating strategy in its raw, muddy glory. The English, recognizing the power of the terrain, established their line. They positioned their archers in a staggered formation, protected by sharpened stakes designed to thwart any charging cavalry. The French, relying heavily on their knights in shining armor, made the fatal error of underestimating the treacherous wet ground and the deadly rain of arrows the English could unleash. As the first rays of dawn barely crested the horizon, the English archers, disciplined and skilled, released their initial volleys. Thousands of arrows arced through the damp morning air, darkening the sky before descending like a lethal hailstorm onto the French ranks. The whistling of the arrows harmonized with the heavy thuds they made upon impact, piercing through armor and souls alike. The French, unaccustomed to such devastating precision, found themselves thrown into utter chaos. Men who moments before had been certain of victory now felt the icy grip of fear at the shadowed tips of swift arrows that seemed to possess a will of their own. The psychological terror intensified as arrows continued to fall. The French knights, icons of chivalry and battlefield might, struggled in vain against this invisible enemy in the sky. Many found their armor more a prison than protection as the muddy field clung to their movements, leaving them mired and vulnerable. The relentless rain only compounded their plight. Horses and men alike buckled under the weight of their gear in the torrential mud, with some knights tragically suffocating as they toppled into the mire, their power and prestige rendered meaningless by the unyielding ground. Despite the seemingly invincible French nobility, the tide of the battle turned not just on chance, but on the gritty discipline instilled by Henry the Eighth. As his troops held their nerve, the English maintained a relentless pressure that sowed fatigue and dread among the French. By the time the English archers dropped their bows and joined in close quarters combat, the French spirits had already begun to splinter. The clash became brutally personal as those previously untouched by the storm of arrows were now met with the fierce resolve of Englishmen fighting for survival. Blood stained the fields as cries mingled with the clang of swords and shields. When the last shouts of battle faded, the fields bore witness to staggering losses. The ground, once merely a field, was now a tapestry of fallen men and despair. The French nobility, those paragons of medieval might, lay in greater numbers than their English counterparts, the rain washing over both conqueror and conquered. This victory, achieved against overwhelming odds, was not just a story of martial prowess, but a testament to the devastating effectiveness of archery and warfare. The story of Agincourt, however, transcends mere numbers. Long after the mud had dried, chroniclers like Jean de Wavrin and writings such as the anonymous Gesta Henrici Quinti captured the echoes of this monumental clash. The narratives, rich with both fact and embellishment, depicted the longbow as the unsung hero, a symbol of English ingenuity and adaptability. Yet behind every legend lay a truth, that these wooden arcs and their silent missiles changed the course of history in a heartbeat. Interestingly, Agincourt's legacy wasn't solely one of celebrated archery. The myths spawned in its wake, from tales of individual archer prowess to the supposed honor-bound failures of noble knights, often blurred the lines between fact and fiction. Through narratives layered over centuries, the truth of the battlefield became intertwined with lore, leaving room for both admiration and skepticism in the minds of those who later pieced it together. Reflecting upon Agincourt is to peer into a moment when the ideals of medieval warfare crumbled beneath the weight of reality. The knights, once the undisputed champions of combat, were humbled not by swords but by the deadly poetry of archery that spoke in terms even the bravest could not ignore. As for the longbow, its place in the dusty tomes of history was secured not merely as a weapon, but as a symbol of the quiet power that turned the tide. The story of this clash and the invisible hand of its archers endures, whispering through history like the very arrows that once filled the air. In an era when knights clad in gleaming armor held sway over fields of blood and honor, the humble crossbow emerged as an unexpected equalizer, a weapon that could be mastered with significantly less training than the longbow. The crossbow fundamentally altered the balance of power on medieval battlefields. Imagine soldiers lacking the physical strength and years of archery training suddenly capable of piercing a knight's shining mail and even denting early plate armor. This democratization of lethal force was not without its controversies, particularly among the nobility, who saw their battlefield dominance slipping from their grasp. The mechanics of the crossbow were elegantly simple yet revolutionary. A stock held a short but potent bowstring, which could be drawn back using a winding mechanism. Its projectile, a bolt heavier and more compact than an arrow, pierced with a force that belied its inconspicuous size. Picture infantrymen, once the battlefield's expendable fodder, now standing shoulder to shoulder with mounted knights, newly empowered with a tool that rendered valor irrelevant and skill secondary to the deadly efficiency of their new weapon. On the medieval battlefield, these crossbows ignited fear and fury in equal measure. Imagine the sudden chaos as bolts rained down, punching through what seemed like impenetrable defenses. Knights, the tanks of their day, found themselves unexpectedly vulnerable. The psychological impact was as profound as the physical. Confidence soared among the ranks of common soldiers, while a pall of dread settled over the knightly classes. Unlike the stylized contests of knightly jousts, the crossbow's bolt struck suddenly and with merciless indifference to social standing. Naturally, this disruption of power attracted the attention of the church, resulting in the Second Lateran Council's ban in 1139. Declared hated by God, crossbows were initially banned for use against Christians. However, this papal decree, more symbolic than effectively enforceable, did little to curtail the weapon's popularity among armies. Kings and barons, caught between ecclesiastical authority and military necessity, paid lip service to religious mandates while quietly recruiting ever more crossbowmen. In many ways, this entire dilemma underscored the raw pragmatism of medieval warfare, where practical survival often trumped moral dogma. The engineering marvel that was the crossbow can be traced to the skilled hands of blacksmiths and artisans working their craft with fire and anvil. Steel and composite materials like horn and sinew combined to create bow arms that juxtaposed flexibility with immense strength. Every notch and groove of its trigger and winding mechanism was forged through meticulous craftsmanship, a testament to centuries of martial ingenuity. It was as if each crossbow, with its distinct design reflecting regional styles, spoke of hundreds of decisions made in the glow of a smith's fire. More than mere weapons, crossbowmen became symbols of shifting societal landscapes. These were no longer the times of exclusive knightly battles. Power was subtly seeping down the societal strata. Hired by kings and merchant guilds, these professional fighters signaled the rise of a new class of arms bearers. Imagine crossbowmen keeping vigil atop tower battlements, defending strongholds with their devastating precision, or altering the outcomes of sieges from behind fortified ramparts. They embodied battlefield pragmatism, where honor bowed to the grim arithmetic of warfare efficiency. Globally, the crossbow's influence spread rapidly. As it traveled from Europe, Eastern innovation saw the advent of the repeating crossbow, anticipating the increasing pace of mechanized warfare. Ingeniously, Italian and Ottoman engineers pushed for greater torque, delivering near-explosive power with each shot. Each culture adapted the crossbow to its specific needs, ensuring that the weapon's core essence, balancing power with precision, endured through the generations. Yet, there was always a tension, a clash of titans, if you will, between crossbows and longbows. Each had its area of supremacy. Longbows dominated the open fields of English warfare, their high rate of fire perfect for sustained engagements, while crossbows thrived in tight quarters, offering unmatched lethality in siege situations. This constant rivalry spilled into debates among strategists who weighed the availability of wood against mechanical complexity, each choice shaping entire military campaigns. In the thick of a siege, where every bolt could mean the difference between triumph or defeat, crossbows proved indispensable. From defenders' parapets, bolts hailed down to deter attackers scaling walls or breaching gates. For those laying siege, crossbows helped thin out rival archers, inching attackers ever closer to victory through precision and persistence amidst the chaos. Crossbows also found their way into the folklore of the time. Unlike their noble longbow counterparts, often tethered to tales of valiant archers like Robin Hood, crossbowmen were often viewed through a darker lens. Their wielders, frequently depicted as rogues or revolutionaries, challenged tyranny and became folkloric symbols of retribution, altering the medieval psyche by intertwining tales of daring with the grim potency of their weaponry. Today, the medieval crossbow's legacy endures, repurposed into realms of sport and leisure. While gunpowder may have eclipsed its role on the battlefield, its core principles persist. Even in modernity, the crossbow embodies a timeless narrative, a testament to humanity's endless quest for advancement through wartime engineering and a reminder of our ancestors' resolve to reshape their destinies against the unyielding current of time. In the medieval cacophony of war games, one might assume the art of battle was solely about the clash of swords and the charge of cavalry, a tempest of flashing steel and galloping hooves. But amidst this din, a quieter force held sway, weaving unseen threads of destiny through the very fabric of historical conflicts. The archers, they remain as shadows orchestrating a silent symphony that preceded the narrative of brute strength and valor. With bows in hand and arrows as their voice, they whispered into history's ear, shaping realms and kings, not through grand pronouncements, but through the subtle, deadly whisper of an arrow in flight. The power of archers didn't merely shape the outcomes of numerous battles. It profoundly influenced the formation of strategies, operating within dimensions of time and space that left commanders wary and alert. Often overlooked in the grand narratives of medieval warfare, their humble efficiency was a force to be reckoned with. At Crécy and Agincourt, it was not the shining armor of knights, but the steadfast rain of arrows that turned the tide, scattering fear among the ranks and forcing prudent nobles to reconsider the purity of chivalrous ideals in the face of practical warfare. Despite the valor and gallantry of the knights, their steel was not invincible. It bent to the will of persistence and precision, the domain of the bowman. Far from being mere participants, archers were strategic virtuosos. Their eyes, sharp and discerning, perceived the lines of battle not as chaos, but as a canvas awaiting the stroke of well-placed volleys. Their arrows spoke the language of discipline and order within disarray, dictating enemy movements, disrupting formations, and altering the narrative with every silent flight. It was here, amidst the chaos, that their true worth was realized. In the dance of deadly precision, they ushered armies into moments of triumph or despair. Ironically, amidst the chivalry glorified by contemporaneous narratives, it was these heralds of the invisible kill who wielded genuine power over the machinations of war. Where valor was extolled in glorious combat, it was often undone by the cold pragmatism of an archer's craft. This stark contradiction highlights an unromantic but inescapable truth. While knights sang of honor and valor, it was the bowman's tactic that ultimately wrote the tales, proving their invisible hand the undeniable judge of the battlefield. Yet the tapestry of history can be a fickle weaver, often eclipsing the less glamorous contributors to its grand narratives. Theirs was not a legacy writ large across illuminated manuscripts. Their deeds did not translate into the grandiloquence of noble tales. They were ghosts of history, their stories stitched into the skeletal remains found in fields like Towton and Bosworth. A whisper within the bones, a truth etched in their humble fractures. These remains speak louder than recorded tales, narrating a saga of influence and technique, of bows lovingly crafted and arrows tipped with an inexorable purpose. In a society rigidly bound by class, archers often emerged from among the common folk. Yet on battlefields, their merits shone brighter than birthrights, and for a fleeting moment, they transcended their station. their skill granting them a worth beyond lineage. At Agincourt, the Anglo-Welsh bowmen stood shoulder to shoulder with noblemen, their unrivaled ability to unleash death with precision, allowing them a brief elevation within the rigid social lattice. The bow itself was no mere tool, but an extension of the archer's spirit, a testament to the blend of intuition and craftsmanship that defined the age. The creation of a bow required more than just skill. It demanded an alchemical understanding of physics and nature. Crafted from resilient yew, each stroke of the carver's hand was imbued with both potential and peril, the cadence of war residing silently within the wood. These artisans, often hidden behind the scenes, gave birth to instruments of judicious destruction, silent symphonies poised to reshape the fates of men and nations. But even as history tends to gravitate toward the grandiose, culture remembers its archers in narrative echoes, a folk memory that transcends the pages of storybooks. Though the tangible legacy of knights adorns museum halls, it is within the collective imagination of culture that archers become eternal. From the cunning of Robin Hood to the sagacious lore of the Welsh tales, they embody defiance and cunning, a motif of skill shrouded in mythic rebellion. As we draw this chronicle to its conclusion, we are left with the undeniable truth of their unsung influence, creating ripples woven long into the fabric of time. Archers, often relegated to the background of history's stage, hold an indelible role amidst its grand theater. Their legacy is not enshrined in monuments or marble, but felt in the strategic evolutions of warfare, the reshaped social order, and the legends woven into folklore. These bearers of legacy, with their artistry and foresight, sculpted a world. And as their arrows once cleaved the air, they leave us with a testament to the power and influence that lies hidden in silence and shadow. If this tale sparked your imagination, consider subscribing to our channel for more journeys into history's rich tapestry.